cheers again, and let's
Cheers.
kick this thing off.
All right.
Cheers. What are we calling this, Jenna?
I call it cocktails and conversations.
All right,
The Cool
cocktails and
Times
conversations. Cheers, and welcome to Cool Times Podcast, where we talk all things on the road. Where we talk all things cool about the cold storage construction industry. Mm-hmm. I am your host, Vince Free. Our beautiful other host, Jenna Free, and we are joined by the one and only Josh Lewis.
Thank you for having me. Super excited to finally join.
Yeah.
I will say that Vince told me that this was an 80s pop podcast. So I've been fooled, but I'm here now, so I guess we'll keep doing it.
That's right. And this is cool. So we've been trying to hunt you down for a while to do this, and you go, well, why don't we record it in Vegas?
Absolutely.
So then you put me to work. I had to buy all like the remote podcast recording stuff, and I'm like, okay, we're doing it.
Podcast on the road.
Yes.
Podcast on the road.
Podcast on wheels.
Here it is. Now, this is our first remote podcast on the road, and we are live in Las Vegas at the Icon conference.
Yes.
You know, by the time everyone's seeing this, it's it'll have been
a little while.
But
yeah.
Well, let's dive into this here, and Josh, let's let the audience know who you are.
Yes.
Could you start by telling us a little bit about RL Cold, your role with RL Cold, and go from there?
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, thanks for having me, guys, and I appreciate you accommodating me here. And nowhere else better we could be doing it than Vegas. But Josh Lewis, I'm president of RL Cold and partner at RL Cold. My background last 20 years been in the food manufacturing, food processing, and cold storage space. Transitioned over to RL Cold about 4 years ago that we started it, founded it with my partners at Realty Link to go out and develop and build world-class, state-of-the-art cold storage facilities. So to date, we've deployed about $750 million in project costs.
Wow.
And we've done that in about 3.5 years.
Wow.
So it's been great. We've done a lot of good deals, a lot of fun deals, and a lot of fun markets, and continue to grow as a company based out of Atlanta, Georgia, with the primary focus on building and developing world-class cold storage facilities. Mm-hmm. We do it a little different than the majority of your developers in general.
Okay.
The way we do it is really a focus on customer-centric solutions. When I say that, I mean, we're not looking at this from a real estate perspective typically. Yeah. We're looking at it from solutioning from the inside out. So when we look at these deals with a customer or potential tenant, we're looking at site, we're looking at land, we're looking at all of those traditional things. But what we do is for the client is that we go in and we design these buildings custom fit to their profile. Okay. And we show them this is the most optimal way that we can build this for you to reduce your costs, not just of construction, but reduce your operating expenses, improve your sustainability goals, reduce transportation costs. So it's really all of the things other than just your rent number. Sure. We're looking at every item, every line item in the OpEx budget to say, how do we drive all of these costs down for the customers in a way that helps them, transition potentially from a PRW to their own building, or sometimes these are for PRWs, and how do we transition them into a new world-class state-of-the-art building?
So how did you guys come up with that strategy, that approach that you wanted to take? Did you brainstorm and find that missing need, or did it come as you guys were developing?
No, great question. Sheer desperation. So sheer desperation sometimes spurs the best ideas, right?
Yeah,
it does.
It really does.
So I'll tell you that my background prior to starting RL Cold, obviously it was cold storage, it was food manufacturing, food processing, but what it wasn't was real estate development.
Okay.
So when I started out here and doing this, I didn't know any other way to do it but the way that we're doing it now. I didn't know that there were brokers that you could go hire to lease buildings. I only knew one way to do it, and that's to go out, find pallet positions for customers, go out, design these buildings for those customers' needs, find world-class location, design specifically to how they need it designed, look at how you drive OpEx expenses down, how do you drive energy expenses down, how do you get rebates and tax incentives from the state or maybe the cities. So I only knew one way to do it, and was to look through the cold storage lens. So when I started the company, I had a 6-month-old, and I was leaving a job to go out here and start this company. So it will make you do some things and look at the world in a different way, right? Because you're going out here on a whim and you're taking a chance and
how long
starting
ago
this
was
up.
that?
That was 4.5 years ago. Yeah.
That's kind of like us.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So went out there and I only knew one way to do it. I didn't know there was all these brokers. So I did it just like I used to do deals at Americold, where we put together this whole program to take to the board to get board approval. Yeah. But today what I do, instead of taking those deals and those opportunities and those solutions to the board, I'm now taking those to tenants.
Wow.
That's awesome.
It's been a nice mousetrap. It's worked well. It really launched RL Cold so we could hit the ground running, do a lot of deals really fast, and then allowed us the room to grow, expand, and then diversify into what I call other asset classes of cold storage.
Yeah. Wow.
Can you say a little bit more about what that diversification looks like for you guys now?
Yeah, absolutely. So, starting out in the way I'm describing it, we started out really focused on the PRW space, and that's public refrigerated warehousing.
Yep.
So that's your traditional Americold lineage type buildings,
sure,
where they're operating for other customers' product. Mm-hmm. But when I started looking at that world, I started looking at the world differently of how do we diversify? There's more clients out there. There's more deals to be done out there than just that space. So I always broke down the asset classes of cold storage into 4 asset classes. You've got PRW, which is pretty simple. Everybody knows that. Then I put the other category into grocery and e-commerce. And that's exactly what you think. It's grocery distribution, food service also put under there, commerce for companies think of like a HelloFresh, last mile type deal. I lump all of those together. And then the third being pharma and life science. So that's a very growing sector, and it's niche within niche, right? You guys are y'all getting in the space, or you probably leaned in that space or seen some stuff in that space.
Yeah.
So, and then the last being, our food manufacturing, 3PL, PRW, grocery e-commerce, and then food manufacturing and distribution. So think about your traditional food manufacturers. It's their product. They make it. They produce it. They market it. They sell it. And then they operate those buildings themselves, and they don't use a PRW for that.
Okay.
So grocery, PRW, pharma, life science, food manufacturing, and food processing.
Yeah.
So now I would say how we started out, and 100% of our business was in the PRW space.
Yeah.
I would say 90% of our business is currently in food manufacturing, food processing. 5% of our business is pharma and life science, and 5% of that business is grocery and e-commerce. Mm-hmm. And the deals we're currently walking on aren't even 3PL or PRW related.
Wow.
Sure. Man, you started your company then during COVID.
Right on the backside of it.
Right on the backside of it. So how has COVID-19 impacted your business and your trajectory?
I would say that what it really did was I would say on the food side, but even on the pharma side too, what it did is it just pushed the industry forward probably 10 years.
Okay.
It's not so much that it just reimagined it, right? The world was going that way, and how people shop, buy goods, how they do business, right?
Yeah.
But it was going there slowly.
Yeah.
You think about what it forced everybody to do. Now you get people's grandparents who are ordering online now.
Yes.
So without COVID and that happening, that wouldn't have accelerated to that point.
That's such a good point.
So yeah, it didn't just change the way we shop; it accelerated what that gap already was going to be anyway.
That's good. That's good. So obviously that's a lot of growth in a short amount of time.
Yep.
It might look easy on the outside, but I'm sure it came with some challenges.
Absolutely. I'm very similar to you guys. I haven't slept in 4 years. So we have not slept.
We know the feeling.
We have done nothing but cold storage, eat, sleep, and drink it for the last 4 years for sure. And for us, the biggest challenge is, I'm sure, similar to you guys or any group, is how do you grow, how do you expand at a rate you want to without losing execution and losing delivery of the right product and not ostracizing your customers, right?
Absolutely.
So there's always a balance of what we're focused on. Growth, organic growth, but then sometimes we push the envelope on growth, but while maintaining, we're never giving up the standards of execution and always really pushing the envelope on how we deliver world-class solutions to our customers without losing that to the growth. So that's the challenge that we're always, every day we're focused on that growth, but execution along with it.
Yeah, Jenna mentioned challenges, and I was going to ask you, that's a question I wrote down. I'm like, what are the biggest challenges facing the cold storage industry today, and how's RL Cold preparing to tackle those issues?
Great question. For me, what I'm seeing, and I kind of talk directly through the clients, right? We're so focused on the clients, customer-centric, that we're taking the challenges that they're dealing with every day and how do we help mitigate those challenges and help to really be a solution provider. And that's how I look at the world. I don't really see us as a real estate development company. We're more of a solution provider.
Yeah.
So when we're talking to our customers, it's what's your pain, what's your problem, and how do we help solve for that? Sometimes it can be like, hey, we're in 8 POWs today. We want to consolidate into one warehouse in this perfect market. So how do we solve that for them? Sometimes this group said, hey, Josh, we want to consolidate, but we don't want to operate that. So can you help us with an operator to bring in an operator into the building for us? So we don't only just design it for them. With some of these groups, we're also bringing in the operator and bridging that gap between them and the operator as well.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
What are some of the trends in our industry right now that you're kind of like, you got a crystal ball and you're looking into it? Like, what are some of the trends in these cold storage warehouses that you guys are building that, the next 5 years you see that you're going to be doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's ever changing, but one thing for me, you really see people putting more of a focus on sustainability.
Yeah.
How do we put a more sustainable solution together?
Yeah.
How do we reduce carbon emissions? How do we get more off the grid, less dependent on power, traditional power, right? So for us, I think that you're going to turn back the time on that. I think it's just going to be ever evolving of how do we provide sustainable solutions for customers that are truly sustainable. And I say that a lot to say that, that might sound cliche or catchy. Let's make sustainability sustainable. Josh Lewis 2024, running for office. That's Joshua Lewis 2025, right?
We'll take you, man. We'll take you 2028.
Yeah, there you go. When I say that, what I mean is you can go and do things that cost $20, $30 million in these buildings to make them more sustainable. But how sustainable is that long term? To spend that much additional cost to make these buildings sustainable that essentially gets passed on to the end user or the consumer. Coming up with sustainable solutions that really achieve what you're trying to do, reduce the carbon footprint, reduce energy consumption, but while doing it in a way that's not so capital intensive. So that's what we're pushing the envelope on constantly. How do we reduce that energy consumption? I mean, I called you last week about some questions on the IMP, right? The thickness of IMP, and what are those ways that are maybe low-hanging fruit that you could do different? The thickness of your IMP panels, the R value, looking at roof installation, looking at, some of the refrigeration systems and how do we put VFDs on it. So some of these things that we can do that maybe aren't, as sexy as some of the sustainable things out there, but still produce the same goals, but in a capital responsible manner, I'll say.
Yeah, that was one of our topics. I mean, I was moderating the new trends in cold storage, and we were talking sustainability. Mike Jones, shout out to him. He had a lot of good ideas too, but how much money do you want to spend on it? What's the ROI? And most importantly, kind of want to talk about, get your opinion on it, because the cost of groceries have skyrocketed. It's through the roof. And if you look back 5 years ago, the cost to build a building that used to be $80 million is now $110 million, right? Those costs get passed down to the consumer. So what can we do, or what can we do to try to get things kind of back down to normal?
Yeah, I think from our side, what we do is it's all about driving the cost down for our customers. Yeah. And in turn, that should drive the cost down for consumers. I can't solve all the problems, but what I can do is focus where my feet are and solve the problems in front of me every day, right? So
for sure.
How we do that is that's what I'm describing, is that there's fiscally responsible things you can do from our side to say, how do we provide those sustainable solutions? How do we drive costs down in a manner that it all gets passed on down to the end user and the consumer? And I think there's also some things the government's doing or local municipalities are doing when it comes to tax abatements, tax rebates. But there really can be an ROI established and back to sustainable options. And even I often describe it as reimagining the supply chain. So what that looks like for a lot of food manufacturers and food processors is they're in 9 buildings spread across 6 states. And is there a better solution where they can go into one building in one space that maybe reduces transportation costs by $6 million a year? So that's where a lot of groups are now doing network optimization, transportation analysis to say, hey, how do we reimagine our supply chain of today and redo this and kind of reset the clock? Because what they were as a company 10 years ago is maybe different than they are today. And their supply chain today doesn't fit into the the supply chain or the supply chain of 10 years ago doesn't fit into today.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, we talked AI in the meeting, right? We talked what the automation does. And are you guys building any automation? ASRS is automated rack systems. Are you guys doing that right now or no?
Well, what we focus on is it almost goes back to the same play as sustainability. Let's automate what makes sense to automate.
Yeah.
You don't have to necessarily automate the world to produce results. There's a lot of these automated systems out there today, and for various reasons, people are using them. I'm just going to say that you don't have to automate everything, right?
Exactly.
There's things that make sense financially, that have a great ROI, where you can automate for various reasons. Maybe it's labor, maybe it's productivity, maybe it's even, hey, we should automate this process because it's super hard labor.
Sure.
It's not so much that it's like, oh, we're trying to get rid of the labor.
Right.
This is backbreaking labor that is, people are getting injured. You have our OSHA injuries. And maybe those are the things we automate because those make sense to automate. So that's
safety,
what we're really doing.
increasing safety.
So for us, it's like we're here for it to automate the things that make sense. So we work with our customers, and we show them solutions to maybe it's case picking, maybe it's automated racking, maybe it's solutions like that. But it doesn't have to be necessarily automating the world for the sake of automating.
Yeah, that's true.
So would you, I guess, since we are at the Icon conference and we just finished up, like, you mentioned a lot of things that were discussed. Did you have a takeaway, something that stood out to you guys from today that
Great question.
was like, oh, this is really interesting, or this is a really good point, or this is something that I think our industry really needs to dive into and explore for solutions, or something like that? Anything stand out to you guys?
Yeah, I'll let you go first, and I'll take it. I'll let you go first.
Dan, I'll start. I think the takeaway is this. This show here has doubled in size in a year. It's the second year they've done this. People are starting to realize that, like, this industry it's awesome, and it's all about relationships, and it's so damn fun that it attracts the right people. I mean, I don't want to use the term, a good old boys club, but man, it's turned out that way, and I'm seeing more females in the industry, which I love.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Which is really cool. But the takeaways is, I mean, the general contractors that are building these buildings that aren't like your bigger name guys, they're starting to come to these things and invest more time and resources to learn to build a better cold storage building for clients like you. And they're putting that time and money into it. And that's a big takeaway too.
It's a great point that I talk about often. It's like this industry is an intoxicating industry.
Yeah.
When people start getting involved in it and they start learning about it.
What do you mean intoxicating?
Pun intended. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it is. It is.
But it is. It's an industry that once you start learning more about it, I mean, people from Wall Street in New York to, the good old boys down in South Alabama, like, people, when they get in this space, it really is infectious, and you love doing it. You love being a part of it.
Yeah.
But talking about one of the key takeaways for me, and it's kind of a key takeaway that I hope others take away from it.
Okay.
Is what, one of the things I'm constantly talking to people about is, as this space grows, when you think about development and real estate development in cold storage, this is totally new, right? This was never done before. 4 years ago, there was no real estate development of world-class cold storage facilities. Like, people lease old, bad warehouses.
Very old buildings.
And that was what got leased. Yeah, that's what got leased. So what we've done is really create a new asset class of cold storage, but it's still so new right now that a lot of people are trying to figure out, how do you do it? What is it? What's the best way to do it? So I talk often about, like, if you're a group that's trying to get into this, get the right partners that understand the space, get the right, from builders, developers, installers, subcontractors, to the equity, the debt. I mean, everybody across the board is so niche and so complex that get the right partners and partner with the right people, because what we do is, we have like a responsibility right now at the very infancy of this thing to go out and do this the right way.
Yeah.
Because if you don't go out here and do this the right way now, it's not only not going to be long-term sustainable, but you're going to get a bad rap in the space, right? People aren't going to want to lease those new buildings because they weren't done the right way. People aren't going to lease it because They say, look, all these new people have come in, all this new equity has come in, and they put on this bad product out in the industry in bad markets. So what I encourage people to do is have some level of responsibility as we start up this long term. Yeah. And you can do that even if you don't have to be 20 years in the industry, but just get the right partners. Get the right partners that understand how to do this and go out there and let's make this thing a long-term new asset class.
It makes me ask my next question to you is let's say there's a new Josh Lewis on the street who wants to do what you've done and get into this space and kind of create what you've created. What advice would you give that person?
Don't. I'm kidding. No.
Don't do it. No. I want to start my own company. What should I do? I'm like, run. You won't sleep.
Yeah.
You're going to work 80, 90, $100 a week, right?
Yeah.
And you're not going to make any money for a really long time, and I hope you're okay with that.
Yeah.
No, what I'll say is whether it's this asset class, whether it's cold storage, or whether it's any business that you're looking to start up in general, I'd say the biggest advice I have is, find your lane, find your niche, and dedicate yourself to it and be world class at it. Because the reality is when you start a company, and you guys know this, people think, oh, I want to start a company so I can make my own hours and do all of this. Like, you're not trying to start a company. You're just trying to be self-employed. Right. There's two things drastically different. When you start a company, you're living and breathing and you're always working, right? This is the grind. Those first years are absolutely a grind, but it's understanding and being fully dedicated to whatever your craft is, becoming world-class at it. When people ask you about your craft, you should know it better than anybody. So I would say that. And then it's also understanding that, there are no problems in life. There's opportunities, right? So when you run into a challenge, it's like, hey, what's the opportunity and the solution around this? And you just keep moving forward.
Absolutely.
Somebody won.
There's something going on.
Someone won.
That's it. It's really focusing on solutions and not problems.
Yeah.
And how do you work through these things? Because it's those people that just keep going, that don't give up, that keep pushing forward, and those are the companies long-term that are successful.
Yeah, it definitely requires that shift in mindset of it's not just what it's going to do for you if you're starting a business, right? It's your motivation for what that business can do for others.
That's right.
And it's making that, it's a whole mindset shift then to how do we problem solve? How do we look at problems?
And it's so funny you say that because everyone's like, oh, you have your own business. It's so nice and blah, blah, blah. You make your own hours and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, but you know what you just signed up for, right? Like you don't have Christmas and Thanksgiving off. You don't have these holidays that you think you have off.
I said to him the other day, what was it? I think it was one holiday weekend. And I was like, I can't wait for the holiday weekend so that we can get some work done.
That's exactly right.
It's funny. Like, you're not wrong.
I'm not.
We wait for, like, there to be a holiday on a Monday, like, Columbus Day or something, or, like, President's Day when everything's closed.
Yes.
And I'm like, my email's not dinging. All these GCs are closed. Like, and all of a sudden, like, I can go into the office. No one bothers me. My email's not pinging like crazy.
It's not about being bothered.
Well, it's not about being bothered. I'm just saying, like,
you can focus on that work.
It's
task.
It's uninterrupted focus time.
I didn't mean
which
that.
is rare. I know you didn't mean it that way, but like it's uninterrupted focus time.
Disclaimer: Vince's customers, you're not bothering him. Reach out to him anytime. You're not bothering him.
And it is funny because we are available 24/7.
Yeah.
As I'm sure you are.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's value add, and we want to be there for our customers just like you want to be there for your customers.
No, and you just hit it on value add, right? I talk to people a lot about that it's really not about your individual craft, whatever it is, whether it's installation of IMP or whether it's construction, it's development.
Yeah.
To me, the bare minimum in this day and age is being incredible at your job.
Yes.
Like what you do every day, if you guys weren't incredible at what you do, you can't even get in the room, right?
Yeah.
You've got to be great at what you do every day. That's the baseline.
Yeah.
And then you've got to look at like what other value adds do I bring to the table on top of that? Because this day and age, like being world class and being great at your job, that's the minimum expectation to get you in the mix But then what are the other things I'm doing to be a solution provider for these different clients? What else am I doing beyond just the install?
Sure.
And things like this, podcasts, reach, helping people connect dots. Like those are the things you can do beyond just your direct service you're providing.
Yes.
So you've got to be world class just from the start. You've got to be great. And what are those other value adds you can do for your clients?
You thought about writing a book?
I have often thought about writing a book. I'm an active. I used to read probably 100 books a year.
Wow.
And that's not even an exaggeration.
Wow.
I have always been like a ridiculous reader from the time I was a child. Anytime I run into something I don't know about, I just throw myself into it and I read it, absorb it. I'm probably down to 52 a year now. I probably still read a book a year.
Do you have a favorite from this year?
Man, a favorite from this year. I don't know about this year. I'll just say I'll put a favorite in general.
Okay.
Favorite book is one of my favorites, The Alchemist by Pablo Coelho. And it really is. It's one of those books that I read that I felt like really changed the way I looked at the world.
Yeah.
And really became a person that, you know, as you're working through life, understanding that everything's happening for a reason and the world is working for you and not against you.
Yes.
Yeah. Dude, yes.
Yeah, so I mean,
Yes.
for me, that's I'm a big motivational person, right? I'm a big motivational speaker.
Same. I think that's why we connect.
So that's a great one. Yeah. I love John Gordon. He wrote The Energy Bus, Training Day, 1,000 other books, right? So anything motivational is going to get me every time. But then there's, other things, the subject matter to just business or private equity or growth that I throw myself into. But I'll say those like passionate reads are books that really tell a story, but get you focused the way you should be focused. John Gordon's a big believer in, really programming your brain for success.
Yeah.
Put in positive things, talking about positive things.
Oh, yeah, dude. It's all about energy, man.
It is.
It really is, dude, 100%.
The things, I'm a big believer that the things you're thinking about, the things you're talking about, the things you're reading, the things you're watching, the people you're surrounding yourself are shaping and creating who you're becoming.
There's science behind it.
Yeah, for sure.
So when I was going through my graduate program, I was looking at research, and it talked about how 80% of what runs through your brain, and the research may have changed by now, but this was back when I was in grad school, 80% of what runs through your brain is negative.
Yep.
So you're fighting for that 20%. So it has to be an active fight every day. You have to put yourself in those situations where positivity, positive energy is around you, reframing the mindset is around you.
What did you go to grad school for, Jenna?
Psychology.
Nailed it. I would have guessed it. But I agree with it 100%.
Jenna has a master's in psychology.
Yeah.
I would agree with it 100%.
Yeah.
And I'll say that I talk to kids, college guys, young adults, and my employees, and I tell them a lot. And it's very basic when you start thinking about it.
Yes.
That your parents tell you growing up, be careful who you hang out with, right? Like, be careful who you're hanging out with. But I see it, right? You show me the 5 people you're spending the most time with, I'll show you what you're becoming.
Exactly.
And you think about through your life, how you've changed throughout your life. And those 5 people that were your people you're spending the most time with, they're shaping the way you look at the world. They're shaping the things you talk about. They're shaping the way you're programmed and the way you're activating every day. So you always have to be very conscientious about your 5 people you spend the most time with, and make sure that those are the people that you're trying to emulate or become, or that are feeding that energy dog, that positive dog inside you every day, right?
100%. It's so true. It really is.
Yes.
I don't care if that's cold storage you're talking or what business you're talking about. It translates to everyone.
Yeah.
There is no product, but it really is so true that, we talk about advice you give. If I was anyone, it'd be like, show me your 5 people you're spending time with.
Yep. We teased her in the office. Have you seen the TV show Billions? Who hasn't, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So she's our Wendy.
Yes.
So Jenna's our Wendy in the office, and people come to her.
Yeah.
For like all sorts of things.
Yeah.
And she's just so methodical.
Well, I met a Wendy one time. She was literally a clinical psychologist. That her focus, we started her own company to go to the big corporate companies and kind of train them to think the way they wanted to for success, to help coach them every day. That's her whole job.
Yeah.
There's such a role there because a lot of the battle is in the brain.
It is for sure.
It is.
A lot of the battle is in the brain.
It is for sure.
Your former...
He's still my boss.
Still your boss, kind of, yeah.
Boss and friend.
Joe Jardine is,
performance mindset coach.
super high accolade performance mindset coach, awesome guy. We brought him into our company and had him speak to our people.
Nice.
Yeah.
And he has made a comment about the negativity thing. And like, if you have 10 people in your office and you have one negative person in your
Energy
office,
vampire.
it takes,
I call it that all the time. The energy vampire.
Energy vampire. It takes 10 positive people just to even out and wash out the one negative person. 10 positive people and that one negative person.
Yeah, that's right. John Gordon talks about it a lot, about those energy vampires, and they literally will suck the energy, the life, the positivity out of a company and a culture.
Yeah,
and
I don't want that in my office.
No, you don't need it.
There's
no employee that's worth it.
We're too positive, and we have too much fun.
Yeah.
We have way too much fun.
Right.
As I'm sure you can see.
Yep. I agree with you totally.
Yeah, dude.
We're on the same page, and when you think about culture and talk about culture, I mean, that's as important of the X's and O's, the blocking and tackling at your work and your company.
Yep.
That's just that culture you're creating as important as anything you're doing.
I agree.
100%.
We always do a sponsored moment, and our sponsor for today's podcast is Rytech Doors. Thank you guys so much.
Our thanks to rytechighperformancedoors for supporting the Cool Times podcast. Rytech doors provide high-speed performance plus high-tech safety features.
They're customized to offer outstanding operation and energy efficiency for cooler, cold storage, and many other commercial applications.
Rytech. Quality, performance, reliability. Why settle for less?
Rytech.
Shout out to my boy Chase.
Shout out Chase
For
Eaton.
today,
Chase,
Mr.
Rytech.
I will give him a plug and say every building I've been built today have been Rytech doors.
Yes, I love it.
And we picked a good sponsor for our show.
You did. I've been doing deals with Chase
dude.
back a decade, back to Americold.
Okay.
Done a lot of business with Chase for the years, and they've always knocked it out of the park.
And he's got that energy. He's
He
got
does.
that good energy
He
that we're
does.
talking about. But anyways, we always do a sponsored moment called our coolest moment. And I want to ask you, was there ever a moment, and we didn't even get to talk about your background before LRL Cold yet, but was there a moment in this industry that stands out to you, or a cool story even? Something that happened within this industry that made you go, this is where I want to build my career. This is where I'm going to spend my time. I'm going to dedicate my life. I'm going to build my craft here because of what I experienced in either this moment or this story or this.
Yeah, I'll tell two stories. So one, I'll tell you, you asked the question of the moment why I decided.
Yeah.
Growing up, and I can go, we don't have a lot enough, we have to do a follow-up podcast. Me to tell my whole story.
I love that.
But I'll say, growing up, I was always very entrepreneurial.
Yeah.
I always just looked at the world a little different than most people. I think I was like 6 or 7 when I tried to do my first deal. So I was always worse. I got a Ponzi scheme at 7. I don't know how that happened.
My goodness.
but no, so I've always been very entrepreneurial. And throughout my life, while I've been in the food manufacturing, food processing, cold storage industry, I always had 2 or 3 companies on the side. So I'd have, for a while, I did craft beer festivals I put on across the country, while I also have my day job. So I put these craft beer festivals, and I have thousands of people come to these things.
Oh my
And there would be
God.
concerts mixed in with craft beer festivals. It was fun. It was great. We made no money at it.
Of course
But
not.
it was fun.
But you had a good time.
And then I did it for a while. I had a company. We were building spec homes throughout South Alabama. Those did well. We had a good company. But I always had these things on the side that I was doing. And then the moment when I finally decided, you know what? I'm going to step out and be entrepreneurial, and the thing I'm the most successful and really good at was when I changed. That's when everything changed for me. When it was really focused on the thing I'm really good at and saying, I'm going to be an entrepreneur at this.
Yeah.
And for me, because I suck at everything else, like I'm not very good at anything else.
Are you good at gambling? Are you winning right now?
I did win this weekend. I
see.
won this weekend.
You're winning.
I did. But I'm serious. Like you ask my wife, I can't hang a picture. I can't change your oil. I can't change your tire. But I am really good at this cold storage thing. So I would say that was that moment or the thing that I was like, okay, once I got in my lane and focused and used that same entrepreneurial spirit at what I'm world class and great at, the company really grew. and really took off, and was really successful. It's continued to be really successful. There's a story in there to say, like, find what your thing is and go at it.
Yeah.
And focus your energy on that, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
But a cool story that I want to tell.
Yeah, this is what I want.
So a cool story. A funny story, and I'll say a cool story.
Okay.
A little bit of a silly story, maybe.
Okay.
Now he works for me, but we used to work together at Americold, Kerry Rawls. Now he's my head of engineering. But I think we were in Boise, Idaho one time, working on a cold storage project. And we had been working on a deal. We were out late with a customer. We had an early flight. So we were walking out from this hotel in Boise, and we were on the struggle bus a little bit, heading there. And then the black Hilton van pulls up to take you to the airport, right? Mm-hmm. So we hop on this black van to head to the airport, and we're dressed similar to how I'm dressed now. And I'm kind of looking around, and everybody looked different. They weren't dressed the same. Everybody was in black, and they were just kind of like with their heads down, and looked like mostly like young kids.
Okay.
And I start looking, and all of a sudden we're heading the opposite way of the airport. And I was like, man, what is going on? We're not heading to the airport. And I looked at Kerry and I tapped him, and I said, Kerry, where are we going? We're not heading to the airport. This van isn't heading to the airport. And Kerry's goofy self looks up and he said, hey, is this thing going to the airport? And everybody raises their head up, and that's the moment we realized we did not get on the Hilton bus.
Oh my God.
We got in somebody's tour bus. So we were picking people up that morning to go on tour and practice for their upcoming tour.
Oh
So we were on the bus.
Whose tour bus?
It was on the tour bus for, oh my God, what is it? They do the Christmas musical, the Siberian Orchestra.
Yes.
So we were
Stop
in
it.
the van with the Siberian Orchestra.
And no one noticed that you didn't
Nobody
belong there.
had their head down. And when we said this, Kerry said, hey, is this going to the airport? Everyone dies laughing on the bus. So we're on there. We were on tour with the Siberian Orchestra for like 20 minutes. So they went and dropped them off. Before they do the world tour every year, they do their practicing there at this Coliseum.
Okay.
And so they were there practicing. So I was on tour with the Siberian Orchestra for 30 minutes.
That's so funny.
Dude, that's badass.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Oh
Well,
my
I don't.
God.
I can't top that story ever.
I don't think
Dude,
so.
that was awesome.
That's an epic story.
Yeah.
You should put that on your website.
Yeah, it'll go on there. It'll be in the
your
book.
resume,
It'll be
or in your
book.
in your book.
Yes.
Absolutely, your book.
Well,
Well, what does Josh Lewis do on the weekends or downtime when you're not working? What do you do? What's your thing, man?
Cold storage. And I'm not doing
Come on,
cold
man.
storage. I do cold storage.
You got
But
football
what I'll say-
games. You got sports. What do you got?
This one I'll say is outside of work and cold storage, it's the family, right?
Yeah.
So I've got the family at home. We
Yeah.
travel so much. We all work so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I turn off, it's literally the family. I've got a
family.
5-year-old at home, Tiger. That's his name.
I love it.
Shout out Tiger. You'll be probably
Yeah.
maybe 6 by the time you see this.
There you go. There you go,
Um,
Tiger.
So, I mean, it's all about them. Whatever they want to do. We're hanging out. We're going to Braves games. We're going to football games. We're going to Disney more often than we should. So, no, it's just all about the family, honestly.
You
to
get
me.
the rule where you when you get home, you got to turn your phone off, put it away, or
I won't say the rule, but when I walk in the afternoons, I definitely put it away, and I don't pull it back out typically until I get Tiger to bed.
Yeah.
Especially if I'm home, when I'm home and not traveling.
Yeah.
Until he's in bed, and I don't pull it back out. Then when I get back in bed, I'm back to answering emails and doing that. But yeah, no, I'm really so focused on what we're doing in the space right now that I've almost brainwashed myself to this thing that it's growing the company, focusing on how do we grow our cold, how do we grow the brand, how do we keep providing world-class solutions for the customers.
Yep.
But then when it's not that, it's the family.
And that makes sense.
Love
that
that.
makes sense.
I mean,
That's
and
the
it's really-
work-life balance as much as an entrepreneur
possible.
you could do it.
Yeah,
right?
that's right. And it's at times, it's almost that you kind of have to, at times there's things that you can't do anymore. People, there's hobbies you can't have
Yes,
anymore.
you're right. There's sacrifice.
There's
Damn
absolutely
right there is.
sacrifices. So like,
Yep.
you only have so many hours a day. So I focus mine on the family and the company. And
Yeah.
right now that, that's pretty much what I got time for.
I like it. I have a fun question for you.
Okay.
If you had to pick out a mascot for your company or create a mascot for your company, What would that look like?
Well, we got it. We already got the saber tooth. So we have a saber tooth.
I love it.
And I will say that it's in our logo.
Okay.
And
It is, you're right.
And I'm literally, so great question. Are you doing this on purpose?
No, I'm really not. It's really one of
You do this. So literally for the last year, I've been taking the saber tooth and making it real. So for the last year, we've been creating, the digital saber tooth now, where you're going to start seeing it coming out in videos where it's running, jumping, eating old, unsustainable cold storage buildings.
Oh my gosh, I love it.
Growling at the problems in the industry.
Love this.
So we're taking that mascot, which was a logo, and now creating a living, breathing saber tooth that's out here in the world. We're going to be renaming it soon. We're going to do a poll, I think, on LinkedIn, and we're going to be naming it soon. So I feel like you set me up for that.
I actually had no idea.
That's amazing. Dude, that's awesome. That is
one
amazing.
of my fun questions that I've been incorporating.
Well, usually you do like the super.
I usually do like the superhero, but as I was looking at my notes on the way down here, I was like, I haven't asked this question before. I'm going to ask that.
Oh, that's a great question. So the saber tooth's a living, breathing, running,
love that,
attacking thing right now.
Oh, hey,
it's coming out soon.
Freeze Construction doesn't have a mascot yet. So if we were to have a mascot, what would it be?
Freeze Construction.
What would our mascot be?
Man, that's so.
I like how you're not defining it.
That's so tough.
It is. It's something big.
Are you not the mascot?
Oh!
Are you not? You're the guy.
She is the mascot.
In Atlanta, we've got a great thing called the Freeze. I don't know if you've ever seen the Freeze. You might want to sponsor the Freeze. But the Freeze in Atlanta, it's a guy that he's dressed up in a suit, and he's a former Olympic sprinter.
Okay.
And in the 6th inning of every game, they bring somebody out onto the field, and they put him on the first baseline. They put the Freeze in the outfield. And they race around the entire field. If you can beat the Freeze, you win.
That's hilarious.
So there is a guy called the Freeze, and they give all the people that come out there like a 100-yard head start. But can you beat the Freeze?
Does he win a lot?
95% of the time, the Freeze wins.
Nice.
Yeah.
95%
So I think,
of the time.
yeah.
Every
95% of the time, he wins 100% of the time.
Every time.
So you may want to look at just sponsoring the Freeze in Atlanta.
I love that.
We might need to.
Well, I mean, dude, it's Vegas. It's want to be cognizant of your time. We're having cocktails. We're going to have more cocktails.
We're going to have more cocktails.
So how do people find you?
Yeah,
Contact you. Do you want people to find you and contact
I was going to say,
you?
come to my house.
Do not.
No,
That's family time.
Yes, autocold.com, the easiest way. We've got projects on there. We've got our buildings we built across the country, new buildings we're building out of the country. All the things we do that we provide from design, solutioning, project management, equity, debt, all the things we do are on the website, or at least a picture of it. So you can reach out through there, and happy to discuss with any potential new clients, projects you're working on, or just questions you have in the industry and how can we help, whether it's introducing you to the right people in the industry you can deal with, connecting dots. We're here to help and really help encourage the industry, help get the industry grow as a whole, whether that's with us or with partners or whoever it may be.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome.
Well, I mean, we're getting our last segment of the night, the evening, the night. What time is it?
Who even
Are there
knows?
clocks
We're
in
in Vegas.
Vegas?
No one knows.
Are there clocks
No
in
one
Vegas?
knows.
Or did I get to ask you the cool wraparound questions that's sponsored by RyteChigh?
Yes, right.
So I get to ask you this or that questions, and you have to answer them.
Okay.
No matter what.
No matter what.
No matter
Hypothetical
what.
gun to your head?
You can't get up and just leave if you don't want to be a part of this.
Exactly.
Bye.
Yeah. See ya. All right. I get to ask you questions. You ready for this?
Ready.
Okay. No, I did not pre-select these, so I'm going to go just
It's random.
rando.
It's random.
Okay? Totally random. All right. Pizza or tacos?
Pizza. My nickname is Pizza Boy.
I love it.
Tiger calls me Pizza Boy.
Well,
My
now we
son
know.
calls me
Okay.
Pizza Boy.
So,
You have to go to Secret
have you
Pizza.
been to Secret Pizza in the Cosmo?
I'm
Dude,
not.
Dude, you
We're
want
doing
the
Secret
best
Pizza.
You want the best pizza ever? You go to a place called Secret Pizza at the
Well,
Cosmo.
he's a pizza man, though. It might not be ever, but one of our favorite
He
pizza
might have to
places
try it, like
here.
do it like a pizza review.
Third
So you
floor.
follow like the Barstool guy. That
I was
does
going to
the
say,
the pizza review.
Dave, I'm going to say that I'm better than Dave.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to say when Dave's unsure, he reaches out to me. That's all I'm going to say. When Dave ain't sure, he calls me. That's all I'm
should
going to
call
say.
I love it. I
You still
love
call me.
it.
Okay. All right. Next, beach vacation or mountain getaway?
Beach vacation for sure. From
love it.
Atlanta,
Okay.
anytime I do get that vacation time,
Yes.
we're busting down to the islands, and we're doing St. Lucia. We're doing the Dominican.
Do you have a favorite?
St. Lucia for sure.
I've
St. Lucia is incredible.
Yeah.
I've got friends there. I have friends there that I won't say text you, WhatsApp. Everybody WhatsApps there.
Yep.
Yeah,
So I have friends
know,
that I WhatsApp there in the Dominican or excuse me, St. Lucia today.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Are you Netflix binging or are you movie theater guy?
Netflix, I would say definitely.
Okay.
Again, when I get that time at home, I will bang out an entire season and
Love it.
maybe between 10 and 4 in the morning.
There you go.
Yeah.
I was going to ask you, are you a morning person or a night owl?
I don't know how you define it because I don't mean this bad, but I don't sleep much. I really don't sleep much. I'm usually up till 1 or 2 in the morning, and I'm up by
You're up early.
6 in the morning. So it's like it's
you're
hard to
just
say.
a napper.
Yeah.
You just take a little nap.
No, I think a visual nap or a mental nap throughout
There
the
you
day.
go. Yeah, for sure. Concert or sports game?
Oh, what's the first part I missed?
Concert or sports?
I would say I'm historically more sports, but I've become a concert guy over the last couple of years. I married someone 10 years younger than me, and she takes me to the concert.
I mean, I brought up Justin Timberlake.
I
stood
know,
up before,
and I know. I will say she has taken me to a lot of concerts. I saw Marshmello here Saturday night. We went to a Marshmello concert here.
I know.
So,
DJ?
yeah, the DJ,
What the heck?
yeah. So I've been to more concerts probably in the last 2 or 3 years than I've been in the previous 20 years. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
I like it.
Love that. Coffee or tea?
Coffee for sure.
Camping or hotel stay?
Hotel stay.
Board games or video games?
Oh, that's tough. I would say, man, that's tough. As a young kid, I'll say like high school and college, I was a video game guy.
Yeah, same.
But then I would say also board games. Maybe you get boring and older, and it's like, I don't know. My little boy loves board games, so
There you go.
Right now.
Yeah, right now
Go
it's
with
board
that.
games.
Are you city life or country life?
Ooh, that's another tough one. I was originally born in South Alabama, so I was in the country very much so then.
Yeah.
And then the last 13 years have been in Atlanta.
Yeah.
I would say there's different, seasons of your life.
I agree.
And today I'm in a city season,
Today you're in the city.
I love that.
but I may be in a more rural country season
In the
a few
future.
years from now. We'll see.
Okay.
But definitely a city guy today.
This is a fun one. Superhero power. The ability to fly or the invisibility powers?
Ooh, probably fly because I travel so much. I never had to sit in traffic. I could be even more efficient.
There you go.
So that way I can work even more.
That makes it work even more.
All right, we got last one. The new 2025 question I ask everybody. I've changed it up here. It's the greatest sing-along song of all time. Is it "Don't Stop Believing" by our friends at Journey, or is it "Friends in Low Places" by Garth Brooks? Greatest sing-along song.
I would go with "Don't Stop Believing." I would go with Journey.
There you
And
go.
again, maybe that's a seasonal question. Like I'm in that season now where it's like, if we can hit some rock and some Journey, I think I'm a Journey guy right now.
That's
go.
okay. I love it. I love it.
Awesome.
Well, thank you.
Do you have
for taking-
anything final?
No. Thanks for having
Anything
me.
you want to add?
No. Thanks for having me. This is great. You guys continue to do great work. I've told you before that I love what you guys are doing with your marketing, your approach to the business, your bridging gaps and creating relationships is world class. You guys knocked it out of the park. And I said that I would not do another podcast until I did yours. And I've been hit up by so many people over the last 3 months to come in and do a podcast. And I told Vince, I was like, I'm not doing another one. I'm not doing any podcast until I do you guys. So I'm excited.
Maybe we fast forward this and make this our Christmas special. You make
Uh,
this our Christmas special, man. We don't know, but man, dude, we appreciate you,
Yes.
love you. This was awesome, dude. And
Yes.
we're gonna bring you back on. We have to bring you back on at the end of the year and reconnect.
Absolutely.
And talk about your book.
See where
Absolutely.
things sit at the
We gotta
top.
talk about your book.
Yeah,
I mean, you should write a book. I mean, I want to write a book. Maybe we can write a book together.
You can see how we can support each other, accountability partners.
I've said,
100%.
there you go. I've said it's going to turn out one way. We can do a book, or it might be like a really bad Netflix documentary in the future where they're looking back. Cold Chronicles.
Cold Chronicles.
Where they're looking back on the cold storage industry. And I hope that's not it. I hope it's not
I opted for the book. Let's go with
Let's
the
go
book.
for the
You
book.
can still call it a cold press.
We can, yeah.
There's two very different outcomes if you do a book or you have a Netflix special.
Also true. Very true.
But I wanted to thank all the listeners out there for tuning into our podcast, Cool Times Podcast. You can find our work on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Listen to it anytime you want. Rewind, play it back.
Watch this video on
And
YouTube.
watch our video on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Spread the word. Our sponsor again, RyTech. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you, RyTech,
You
so
guys
much.
allow us to do this. And until next time. Thanks for tuning in to Cool Times Podcast. Josh, you're a stud.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cocktails and conversations.
Cocktails and conversations in Vegas.
Thanks, guys.
Salute.
Cheers.
Salute. Thank you.